Hi everybody, the Mature Simmer here. Welcome back to Basics in American Truck Simulator. So I'm just working along here, staying within the base maps of the game. Mods really are limited to traffic and environment mods. So other than that, game is base game type of information. So I'm going to go ahead and take this propane job, everything that I'm looking for as far as just trying to stay focused on hazmat, because it pays a lot, and that's really where I want my focus to be when I become an owner-operator. This is really my best option. They're all about the same distance, and they're all already between cities that I've already transported product to. So let's get going. Alright, so looks like another Kenworth, if I was to guess here. So we've just got, whoa, nice long, interesting looking tanker. So we've got a couple 100 miles, not terribly far. So I know I've been talking about the last few episodes, like, hey, we're kind of at the point now with $193,000 that I might be able to go ahead and start getting a truck and starting to work. So what I'm going to do is I need to get to level 11 because that is when I can get a tanker as well. And really that's where the only tankers are available, is I have to get to level 11 to unlock those. So I'm a little tongue-tied this morning, it appears. I keep stumbling over my words, but hopefully it'll get better. It should. Alright, so speaking of Kenworth, that's a Kenworth dealer across the way. I was debating about going and getting that discovered, but I don't think I need to do that. But the tankers are about 55,000 or so, regardless of the configuration. Not really that familiar with the uniqueness of all of them, so I think it looks like there's 3 available. So they're kind of hidden behind kind of the lock with the image with level 11, and so I can see their tankers, I can kind of see the names, but I don't know if when I look at them I'm going to see more information. So there's a bit of trepidation certainly that I've got of going the route that I'm planning on going, because I've never actually, other than very, very early on when I first started playing ATS, I think, with my first profile, it was like, sure, let's try everything. And I think I did buy some trailers, but couldn't find a good way to make it work, because it seemed like I would leave it, and drop it in a certain city. I'd own multiple garages, this and that, because, I was making good amounts of money, and I kept adding drivers and trucks, and sometimes they would use them, sometimes they wouldn't. So it was just getting really confusing. So I'm not familiar with that side of the game, so this is going to be kind of learning along with just showing the content to you and so forth. So hopefully it'll be enjoyable for everybody, you watching me fumble along and understand, and me doing exactly that. So I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to hit level 11. So that's going to be part of the challenge, is just seeing, can I do it with this run, can I do it with another? That's partially why I'm trying to take what I'm taking, is I also get hazmat bonuses for experience and so forth. Is this bus going to let me in? Yeah, barely. Alright, so now we've weighed ourselves. We'll see if we get any other official duties that we have to go with. But yeah, I don't know why I mean, I guess as we're getting closer to this, my conversation can more focus on my hazmat. It was one of those in VTC, and if you're unfamiliar with VTC, that's the virtual trucking company. So those are kind of, I don't know that I'd call them really multiplayer groups, because, I mean, there are events we can do on Truckers MP servers, and which is the main multiplayer community, or really only multiplayer community I'm aware of in American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator. So you can go run together, and so Viva Trucking, the VTC I'm part of, like, they'll do monthly things, and I've done a few of those, and they're fun. You know, they're in essence convoys where you're just traveling through and following each other. You show up with whatever truck and trailer you want. You're using a totally different profile, so that's partially why it's not incorporated in any of the Let's Plays I do, because it's not the same type of thing. Why is there so much traffic? This is just a bit crazy. Got another tanker up there. But in any event, so, you know, I joined that a while ago. It's probably been a couple years. And it just felt, hey, it's a different way to do things, and, you know, add a little bit of realism to it, because I'm working and tracking to a goal and so forth. So you can think of it as the typical driver's logs, and, you know, they've got a little app that runs on the system. So you can think of it as, like, in the US we have the ELD, electronic driver logs, or electronic logging devices, I think is what ELD stands for, that are now mandatory, I think nationwide at this point. And so, you know, it's not as if the truck driver has to keep paper logs like they did before and so forth. And so in that way, I kind of look at it as it functions similarly to having a mobile communications unit, a mobile comm unit in the truck. And, you know, my order's sent to me, I run it, and then when I'm done, I just tell the unit, yep, I'm done, and it does and compiles and sends the relevant data where it needs to go. So it kind of works the same way, where they're just literally tracking the distance, the amount of money you're doing, and so forth. And the progression is based on money. So I think I'm still trying to get to the master driver difficulty level, which I think means I need 5 million or 50 million. I don't remember what it is, but it's a lot. You know, I've kind of been going at that for a while, because I think you get to veteran driver, and that kind of finally unlocks the point where you can join specialization. And I think there's, if I recall correctly, because this has been so long since I signed up and made my choice, I think you can pick one of 6, and you're allowed to be in one at a time. So there's nothing that stops me from changing. You know, I may decide to do that in the future, but I've been in hazmat forever. And so it's things like, you know, there's a reefer division, which you'd be hauling a bunch of things in refrigerated trucks. I think there's a heavy haul division. You know, I don't remember them all. But there, you know, I don't think there's like a special transport division, because that would kind of limit things quite a bit. But you know, of all the ones I looked at, like, hazmat seemed the most interesting. Like, first off, it's kind of weird cargos, you know, more exciting cargos, if you want to call it that, because of the danger involved and the seriousness of what you're doing. And so it kind of gives you gives me that feeling of I'm doing something important. I'm hauling hazardous material. I have to be the utmost professional. I don't want to cause toxic spills. I don't want to do whatever. And, you know, obviously, again, the game doesn't do those things. It would just be a role play type thing. Oh my goodness, I rolled my truck and now I've contaminated the community. And, you know, I could go do the research. Drive trucks in real life. So there's one of those billboards that they've added in the game that basically encourage people, if they're interested, to work with some trucks. They added Swift recently to a lot of community uproar because they felt the caliber of Swift and so forth was not a good partner to work with. So, you know, there's haters on everything, I suppose. Oh, are we gonna be asked to stop again? Does Utah want to know how much we weigh? No. They're gonna let us go. But we have a viewpoint here, so you know what? We're gonna pull over. We're gonna go see the viewpoint. How about that? We don't have to do the other piece, but we'll go do the viewpoint. I think I can. I hope I can go this way. Yep, there we go. I don't know that I've seen this one, but in the new structure with the kind of career point, they have these cataloged, and then we can always come back and look at them. The Bonneville Salt Flats. So for those unfamiliar with this, this is where a lot of land speed records have been set in the past. It's just a very flat piece of terrain, which when you're driving something, and I know that doesn't look flat there, I've never been there, I just know of it, but they'll run like rocket cars and things like that on this landscape, and they're able to go over 200 miles an hour without this fear of, I hit something, roll the vehicle, whatever. So it just seems to be a good place to do this. This is not what I was expecting to see, I suppose, because I do remember that little statue or whatever, but not sure if it's like a atom with a nucleus and why like one of the covers is laying down on the ground. But yeah, it's like staying near the highway, which I guess would make sense because we're truckers and that's what we're looking at. But I would think the salt flats would be further out, because that does not look, and again, I'm sure you're not running 200 miles an hour right near the interstate where if you lose control you could kill yourself and others along with you. So, alright, FedEx Ground is coming out here. So again, as I said, with the mods, like this is stuff I have where, real companies and so forth, because I just feel it adds a bit of immersion to the game that isn't there otherwise. But if you can see companies you're familiar with, and for me, I'm familiar with all these companies because I'm from the US, where when I play Euro Truck I still have a real company's mod, but those are all companies I'm not familiar with in most cases because I'm not in that space. Wow. Trucks usually don't do that unless they're a little crazy. So, whoa, where did he come from? I mean, I get I'm going slowly, but holy moly. So, a little bit, I wasn't looking. I mean, I had looked in my mirror, but suddenly he blows by me. Luckily, I didn't hit him or get hit by him or whatever, but because I'm like, I clearly can go faster than these folks. So there's that little, I don't know, the statue would be the right thing, monument that's put out there. So I'm sure it's some sort of indicator. Maybe it's representing fuel or something, because like I said, it's usually land speed records and so forth is where you hear about the Bonneville Salt Flats on the news and so forth. So looks like they've got a picture goal on the other side. Those I'm really not too worried about or doing. I guess for folks who like I like achievements in Steam and so forth, don't get me wrong, but to me it seems a little, kind of arcadeifying the simulation and giving folks something to do. I don't know if ATS and ETS have console versions or will work on the console, so maybe for someone playing there it gives them something to strive towards. Hey, I can go find all the picture spots and go ahead and get that done. So going back to kind of, I guess, continuing the conversation, like I picked hazmat for no other reason than it just seemed interesting, and was a bit more interesting than the others. But what I'm unsure of, and that's where I have that trepidation and a little concerned of what I'm going to be doing, is it was hard enough where I had just a general dry van to find loads and move them, and so forth. Now, once again, it's been so long ago, it's been years ago, where I started to do that when I was playing ATS. It may have been because I was also like, I really want a long route, and like the long routes that were coming up were not something I could carry with my trailer, so I would drop the trailer and go take something else. And then what that would turn into is, because obviously I own the tractor that I'm driving with, you know, if I'm across the country, I now need to come back, and if I can't get back to the city where the trailer's at with a load I want to take, like the trailer's just sitting there for episodes and episodes and levels, and it just was like, I don't know that this makes sense. It makes sense to own a tractor and drive it and so forth, but I don't know that the rest of it makes sense. So, but in any event, at this point, I think I'm less concerned about where I'm going, because I'm not doing, say, the coast to coast that I was doing when I was trying to use the coast to coast maps. But just based on a lot of the challenges that were happening with those maps staying updated and so forth, it just seemed the modders that maintain them seemed to have less and less interest. So I was waiting longer and longer, and there were some that I had to pull out of the series when I was doing coast to coast, and then I could put back in later sometimes, but a lot of times they just faded away. And I'm like, you know, if I stick with just base game content, I can do that. And, you know, I love Pro Mods on the ETS2 side. I tried Pro Mods Canada, but there's just really not a lot happening with the folks that do that. So it was a subpar map, in my opinion, and just not worth the challenges that it caused sometimes.
Keep right, and then exit right.
Alright, I thought we were going to Ogden, so I'm like, I'm thinking I need to go that way. And I was right.
Exit right.
Alright, so we're going to head north. Interesting. I'm trying to think. If I'm going this way and that's heading north. Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, because then I'm coming in. I was heading east, I guess. But I don't think we have very far to go at this point. So we should be there shortly. The other commitment I've made in this series is I'm trying to stay in cab and not do the drone for parking and so forth. Obviously, you know, I look at the truck and so forth before I take off, but once I get there, I'm attempting to do this work. So last episode I did talk about, I will share that, I did have a trucker who watches respond. I had talked about blindside backups, and the yard I had pulled into, that would have been the easiest thing to, you know, pull in, and then I could just back up that way. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna maneuver around and get myself turned around so that I'm not doing a blindside job. And I said, you know, I don't know how realistic that is. If truckers are just like, no, I'm just pulling in and going whatever. The feedback from that individual was, never do blindside unless you have no other choice. Always maneuver to get the other ability, which makes sense, because otherwise you're just working with the mirrors and hoping you're seeing things, and you also are then guessing on what's on the other side of that trailer to some degree when you're going, because you can't see really well where you're turning, and you can't really tell what's coming, because when you look out your window, you're You're too far over the other way. Now I'm confused. Keep right. Alright, we're just going to the BNSF depot. Drop this off, and then they'll probably be putting the tanker on a rail car and taking it further. So the intermodal transportation is relatively common. Lots of things transport that way. Yeah, the one thing that's definitely going to be a shift when I finally get there is, as a contractor, you don't have to think about rest, because unless you take a long job that requires you to rest on the way, which is not what I do because the episodes end up being too long if I'm doing that. But unless you do that, you're kind of starting out fresh every time, so I never even have to think about, hey, I'm getting to my hours of service and I need to pull over. But that will be something that will be introduced in, and that obviously also likely means, well, it's not that I haven't been driving at night, so I guess that's wrong, but I was going to say it probably means some nighttime driving if I've got urgent deliveries or things like that that need to go. So because I'm going to be very focused, maybe I'll handle this more as a story-based or role-play type series once I get there. Hopefully that'll be of interest to folks, a little more fun to follow along, see what I can come up with, and with some creativity and so forth, but not sure that it'll be as creative as I'd hope. Alright. So this is kind of what always happens, and I'm sure it's kind of what happens when you're hauling. You're moving along, and then suddenly you get into town, and it takes you just as long or longer in town to go a few miles than it does to drive hundreds of miles on the interstate. So, waiting for the lights. No traffic at all. 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Clearly Ogden is a hoppin' downtown district. That was a joke. That was sarcasm, by the way, in case you didn't pick it up. But pedestrian crossing, so pedestrian-friendly city.
And then turn left.
Alright, and now we're going to have to wait through another cycle. But this is kind of what ends up making things take a while. I don't want to pull too far forward, but I feel like I'm blocking the lane. I feel like I should go. If I go too much more, I'm going to get myself a penalty, so I'd prefer not to do that. Yeah, with the career stats page that they added in one of the recent updates, it certainly makes me more aware that I do more violations when I drive in both series than I thought I did. Because basically the violations will fall off after 2 weeks. I have yet to have 0 violations show up on that sheet whenever I look at it, so I can't go a 2-week period usually without several. I think I'm in double digits in both series of things that have gone wrong and that I've done. Alright, so we're heading toward the train station. The AI is spooky. It takes off so fast.
Get ready to turn left.
Alright, so it looks like we'll get there, and then... Alright, I'm like, is that a light? But it was a long yellow. Oh, someone's walking with their baby carriage. Just walking around the parking lot. Seems a weird place to do that, but that is what she is doing. Again, maybe at this time of night on the weekend, maybe the trains are shutting down, so it's a nice quiet spot. Take your baby, be able to walk around a bit, get them to fall asleep maybe. And there's these 2 guys over there standing around. So, Just really interesting happenings at the train station. I don't know what else to say other than that. Alright, so... oh. I guess this is the exit. So I guess I'm going to turn right over there. Okay, I see my parking spot. Not quite sure. Okay, so it's right on the other side. But it's that same kind of setup. So let's see. Because I think what I want to do then, knowing the feedback I got, is that I don't want to do blindside. Instead of turning around like I did up there, I think I can go around from this direction. Because they've got, you know, of course, something always blocking things. But yeah, this, whoops. Well, silly me. Too excited to park, and I'm doing a terrible job of driving. Well, hopefully I can clear things. If not, I suppose I can go around the containers, but I think I'm clear. Alright, now I was like, oh yeah, I can get really close, and then I won't have to do much to park, but that is how they caught me. Alright, so I think that will... I was going the wrong way again. You'd think after all this time doing this that I'd be better at this, but it's always something fun. So yeah, I'm not sure I want a tanker this long, but you know, my concern will be, you know, there's certain things that get hauled in certain trailers, and so I'm wondering how limited I'm going to be on various cargo options based on which tanker I buy. So I'm hoping it's going to be informative. Not the greatest job, but it's there. They said they'll take it. So let's see. How close are we? Oh goodness, we've got a long way to go. So this may be a few episodes still, but there we go. We've got that. You know, maybe we'll take a little bit longer one next time. I don't want to make the episodes too long, but maybe if I can get closer to 300, 400 miles, that might be good. So we're in the Halloween event, so that's the background. I didn't change it. It kind of happens. You're able to turn it off, but doesn't really make any sense in my mind to worry about that too much. But I'm going to keep pressing on, and I hope you'll enjoy the journey and come along with me. If you have liked what you've seen and you haven't hit the like button, please go ahead and do that if you'd consider that. Even if you don't have anything to comment, go ahead and drop an emoji down or something about how you were feeling and so forth, because engagement with the video helps with the YouTube algorithm and gets it out to more people. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider that as well. And with that, I will see you next time.